Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 6 of, or actually rather, hold on one second. Let's redo that again. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to episode number 5 of the Primetime Rundown, the Zoom interview series right here on the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Networks. Alongside my guy, Anthony Tornatore, I'm Joey Jarzynka. We cannot thank Anthony Tornatore enough for coming on to the show here this evening. 6:01 Eastern time on this. I don't even know what day it's today. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. I'm all off with my days. Anthony Tornatore, St. John's University Radio Network's sports director, my successor. My man Anthony, how you doing? How are things? How are things by you up in Westchester?
We're hanging in there. Yonkers is getting hit a little rough over here, but everybody's staying calm. People are trying to do their social distancing, and it looks like it's getting better in New York, but day by day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing right now is, we're slowly seeing significant decreases basically everywhere, which is a good thing, potentially flattening the curve, and especially by you were the hot spot of the state, so really glad to hear that you and the family are all healthy.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. So we're going to get things started here, ladies and gentlemen. If this is your first time joining us, again, this is episode number 5. The first 4 episodes were with Ross Mertz, Kevin Connolly, Rob DeLuca, and also Connor McGlynn. If you're just joining us, this is a Zoom interview series here live on Zoom, where we get to know the guests and all of my friends who I have gotten to know over the years in the sports industry that I have been blessed in for the last 6 years, surprisingly, and continuing to make good friends. And I have one right here with me, also my successor at St. John's University Radio Network. And now the craziest thing, Anthony, is that you went to St. John's. And first, before we even get to WSJU, I want to know why, and I actually don't even know this. Why did you choose St. John's?
So it's actually a funny story. When I went to apply for schools, I applied to Iona, I applied to Hofstra, Manhattanville, Manhattan College, pretty much every college in Westchester that had the college board application for free. So I visited those schools. I loved them all. And my dad goes, "Hey, why don't you do St. John's? The application's free." I went there. And my dad went there as him. And I go, "Why not?" So we get the letter back. I got accepted in. They gave a nice scholarship. And then I was like, "All right, let's go to Accepted Students Day." We go to Students Day. And I went home that night. And I made my decision that I was going there. And probably the best decision I ever made. That and where I went to high school, 2 of the best choices I ever made. And that's
yeah, and you also and where you went to high school was Archbishop Stepanak up in Westchester.
Yes.
And that's another school that is definitely no joke either. Where you are, your experience up there. Before you came to St. John's, did you have any of the broadcasting or even the aspirations to be a sportscaster or to be a multimedia journalist when you were in high school? Was that really a thought?
I really didn't know what I wanted to do in high school until probably the end of my senior year. I knew what I wanted to do. I had just attended the Iron Eagle and Bruce Beck sports broadcasting camp. So right after that was going into my senior year. I said, "This is great." So I did that. But I worked with the basketball team, the baseball teams as their media guy. I did the books, the stats. I was in touch with the local newspapers if they needed any information, photographers. So once I started that's when I started to fall in love with the media side of sports.
Yeah, you see, and people don't understand this, is that there are so many different avenues you can take, and it can be you could be a water boy, and just even if you want to be in media, you can just you can tap into any little thing. It could be a player, it could be a coach, it could be speaking with again the head coach and saying, "Hey, I want to do this, but really I want to stick to the media side." And really that is unbelievable to hear that you started there and especially me, not really an athlete anyway, and really a lot of that in our industry, not really athletes, and but we love sports so much that we want to be around it all the time, whatever we do. If you do the book, if you do whatever it is, so really kudos to you, and that is an amazing start of how you get into the field for sure. Now, what made you choose communication and journalism, or who, and also who as well? Who was really your biggest factor as well?
So when I chose St. John's, there wasn't really a major for broadcasting, a sports broadcasting major. I know they have film, TV, and all that, but that wasn't my avenue. I'd taken journalism classes in high school, so I said, let me do journalism. That's the closest I can get to a sports writer, a sports broadcaster, and that's how I choose that. After I wrote so many articles in high school about sports that it was just, why wouldn't I want to do something that I love?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing is if you love something, you stick to it and you wear your heart on your sleeve. And I know that's exactly why both myself and Mike Slavitt made you sports director, because you wear your heart on your sleeve. And that is exactly who I am. And I saw a lot of me in you, and that's that's obviously how it all turned out. Now, this question to you, and I don't even know this because I mean, I should know this, but I mean, I guess when we were in college together, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention or whatever it was. How did you find out about WSJU?
Now, I don't even know if you were the sports director at the moment. So my freshman year, I heard about it, when the accepted students that you hear about every club. Yeah. I heard about that, and I heard they had a sports department, and I went to check it out. In my freshman year, when I went to go get my hours and stuff, nobody was there.
Yeah.
It was always, yes. And I actually had to wait, and that was my first semester. And then by the time my second semester came, I was already doing other stuff. So I couldn't, juggle it all. And it wasn't until you and Mike came in and the station got a little more
organized
that I was able to go in there, get my hours done, and get on the air. Right. So it just happened. Just found out about it, and took me a while, though. I really wish I didn't wait that entire year. But my dad used to bug me, make sure you go get your hours, finish it, so you could get on. And it finally happened, though. It did. But it did,
and the best part is obviously there's a long history of and I'm not, again, I don't want to gloat or anything, but really I'm extremely happy that you're below right below us, or right after us, that can continue the tradition, because where we were, the two of us, and even obviously Kevin, who was on here, Brendan's going to be on here and next Monday, actually. In 5 days, I'm sure he'll also say that too, where, it was a disaster and everything. And, all five of us were able to really put this all together and make this one big family, and make it all really good. And hopefully in the future, it'll pay off for all five, for all five of us, because that is the end goal for sure. Now, March 12th, actually March 11th, 2020 is a day that will live, will be imprinted into your brain for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. And the same thing goes with Kevin and Brendan as well. And I know I'm going to ask Brendan the same exact question, but the day where it was St. John's and Georgetown, St. John's goes on a 23-0 run to come back and win. You're on the call for that game. You, Brendan, and Kevin, and I was sitting right below at the Garden, and word had just come out saying that the next day, there's going to be no fans, and this whole pandemic became a thing about 15 hours later, right when Kevin and I were leaving. And I remember you were a little hesitant on going the next day, and obviously we all were. But to make a long story short, what was that experience for you like, knowing that you would not be back possibly, most likely, in that booth calling a St. John's men's basketball game for your school?
Um, it was bittersweet. That entire week was really tough. Not just that day, but the drive to the Garden that day because I drove down there, and when I got there, it just felt strange that entire day. And when we called the game, that was the greatest basketball game I ever witnessed, and I'm so happy that was the last game I ever got to call. I was supposed to come the next day too. I already bought my parking for a lot down the street, and I was ready, but certain health reasons, you got to be careful. You can't risk anything, especially what happened in New York City this past month. But yeah, it was strange. It was, and I'm a huge baseball fan too. Not being able to call a baseball game, I was supposed to be there that next day at Jack Kaiser Stadium, and that didn't happen either. So yeah, it was bittersweet. It was so much went through my head. I think the next day was worse. Getting the calls that the MLB suspended, the NHL, the NBA, the tennis, golf, everything all at once was just too much. It was crazy.
Right. And you know what? And it's funny that it's actually funny that you bring up you bring up that whole list. And you know what? And it's actually wild because I have that whole list right here. And I think I remember I sent that to you. I sent that to Brendan. I sent it to Mike. I sent it to Kevin. And you look at the timeline of Wednesday, March 11th that will most likely live it will be an infamous day in sports history where it starts at 11:34 a.m. Rutgers closes athletic events to fans. 12:27 p.m. College Football Hall of Fame class of 2020 was announced. Yeah. The 12:42, exactly 15 minutes after, the CBI tournament was canceled, which right away I remember when that was canceled. And I was like, all right, well, the CBI is canceled. So now that makes the NIT and the tournament, and March Madness so much more important. And then you have, Major League Baseball exploring alternate sites. Then you have that was at 1:16 p.m., 1:50. You have the Columbus Blue Jackets, the hockey team. They close the home games to the fans. And then you fast forward all the way down, like probably all the way. It's about 3 hours roughly. And the NCAA are actually about 2.5 hours. The NCAA advises against holding sports events with fans. And then exactly 15 minutes later at 4:30, this was before we even got there. The NCAA says the NCAA tourney will be held without fans, which is absolutely surreal too. And right from there, we listen and we say, this might be it, and you say that this is, that it was bittersweet. And you knew right then and there, and I remember talking to you about it, you knew right then and there that you had to make the best of this because with the help, with everything that's going on and, and just, and personal things, you can't risk anything.
Yeah,
You have to make sure that you take every moment in because really, now that you're graduating, which we'll get to in a little while, how are you going to come back? When are you going to come back? How long is this going to last? And this is stuff that you see in the history books, and I know I've said this multiple times throughout the first 4 episodes of the Zoom interview series with my 4 previous guests. And this is stuff that you didn't think you'd ever see. This is stuff that you didn't think that would ever happen in your lifetime and would most likely happen when we're long gone. But hey, we now witness this, and now we're getting to see firsthand what this is all about. And really, like I said, I'm glad that you got to see a 23-0 run by your St. John's Red Storm, because that is one hell of a run that Mike Anderson and his Red Storm team pulled off. Now, you said just a few minutes earlier that you were supposed to call a game at Jack Kaiser Stadium the next day, and the worst part for you, because I know we follow each other everywhere on all social media and everything. And I know, as we could see in your background, that you are a live and die Yankees fan. And I find that amazing because obviously, and I know I've shown you this plenty of times, is my Yankees necklace. And it's, when that's your favorite sport, and with baseball being right around the corner, literally right around the corner, within 24 hours of calling your most favorite sport at the college level for your school. What is that like to feel the hurt, the pain, the sudden, the involuntary notice that you're not ever going to be calling a baseball game at the collegiate level ever again?
It was tough. It was really hard to grasp. And you do your interview, you do your prep the night before with your manila envelopes, and you're all set. You're excited. You promote it all over social media, and then you get the call that it's not going to take place. It's tough, and I know you could see behind me. I'm a huge baseball fan, and it was hard to realize it, and me trying to think of the best of it. All right, hopefully this is only for a couple of weeks. We'll go back. We'll get a couple games in. Everything will be okay. But I didn't think it was ever going to be this bad the way it is right now.
Right. And I don't think many people were thinking it would be that bad either, where, you look at the summer baseball league, you look at the Cape Cod League, you look at even leagues out here, out east of me on Long Island, the Hamptons Collegiate Baseball League. They have, they start June 1st normally, and they end right around August 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's not going to be happening this year. Most likely, I know that June 1st is impossible because they need about 3 weeks for quote spring training, if you will, or for the collegiate kids to get out here and whatever. And some of the California summer leagues too. It's not gonna happen. And even with Major League Baseball, we have no idea what we're gonna see. The only thing that we're obviously getting wind of right now is the possibility of Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez buying the Mets, which is a great distraction, if you will. But it's very difficult where we watch replays of games, we watch the Yankees classics. It's so tough. We have to make sure that, obviously our health comes first, and, obviously it's going to be that much or that bittersweet, if you will, to quote you, when Yankees baseball comes back. That's for sure. And I know you, Anthony, are going to be very, very excited because you are a big Yankees fan. Yeah. You're also a big Rangers fan, which we'll get to later on. Hopefully, unfortunately, I have to get it in the show, but I'm not really a fan of discussing that. But and then also, in addition to just sports in general. Oh, and also that's what I was gonna say. You're a big WWE guy as well.
Yeah.
And thankfully that's still going on now, which that's again, that'll be a part of the later segment. But at least you have something to watch rather than, consistent Netflix and, and about to kill your family. You gotta, like I said, you gotta have something, which is, which has been plaguing a lot of people around here, but something more positive right now. And I've seen that you actually rebooted it, and Athletic Airways with Anthony. Let's start with that. Tell us a little bit about Athletic Airways with Anthony, because I remember when you had that, I believe it was called AAA at one point.
Yep.
I think it was, you're right. It was called AAA at one point. Or I remember that's how you referred to it as, and that was the slogan. So tell us a little bit about that, and where can we find it?
So it is still AAA. I just used the longer name because it sounds a little more professional. It's just sports. I started it my sophomore year at St. John's, and ever since then it's grown bigger and better. And now we finally got it rebooted because it took us a little while because we thought we were going to go back. So it took us a little while to get the kinks out, but we are on Anchor.fm. We're on 7 different platforms right now: Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts. We're on YouTube. You can catch all the episodes on there. And it's about an hour, a little over an hour. We're just shooting the breeze, talking whatever comes to mind. We had a show Monday about the coronavirus affecting sports, and we wind up talking about, will Carmelo Anthony be in the Hall of Fame? So it's just a couple of guys having some fun, trying to put a little more positive spin on the sports world right now. It's very gloomy. It's a little depressing right now, the way sports is, but we're trying to have a little bit of a fun. and it has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with it being a lot of fun, that's fantastic, because the problem now is that in sport period, whether it be baseball, WWE, football, hockey, etc., it's very obvious, and this is something where people try and escape you know, the dreaded money, politics, religion to speak about. But unfortunately now with sport in general, politics has to be involved because, well, is it good for the people? Is it good for the fans? Is it good for money? So you have something all the way this way and then all the way this way. And it really, it's annoying because you have a lot of people that really look to sports to escape. And that's why I really, I have not checked out your show yet. I only listened to it when we were in college, and you had it on the St. John's University radio network on WSJU. And, and there it was amazing. But then again, this wasn't happening. So I'd love to hear, exactly what you guys have to talk about, because I know with the Primetime Rundown, which is actually tomorrow, which we'll get to later, it's very hard to discuss. It's very hard to come up with topics, and to just even speak freely. It can get heated, and it can get, and it's not even a scripted heated type situation. It is, you're simply watching for, the well-being of humans, watching the well-being of yourself, and, it's not a typical sports conversation. And that is really, amazing that you started something, and you're able to speak freely about all of it. And the other two, your other two guys, what are their names, by the way?
I have my friend Johnny Kamen and my friend Anthony Williams. Actually, my friend Anthony, his father is the president of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Is he now?
Yes. So he used to be the president of the Islanders. So it's great to have more of a business point of view through him, and more of a fan point of view from me and my friend. Actually met my friend in theology class, and it just one day, and we started. I go, "You want to be on the show?" And he goes, "Yeah." And that's how it was. Me and him, how we started it, and then your
friend with his father. What was his name one more time?
Anthony Williams.
Anthony Williams. So with his father, and with his father being the president of major teams, he has that running in his blood already. Mm-hmm. So obviously he has an amazing background of it. And especially, you got to make sure, especially you, because you're a Rangers fan, you got to be careful what you say, because he was once a New York Islander. And obviously also now you got to watch with the Pittsburgh Pirates, where, obviously not many times the Yankees and the Pirates would, cross paths. But this year they would have, if the season would have gone on in a 2-game set in June. So that's really good. That, ladies and gentlemen, obviously you could find that. We'll put that on our Twitter, following the broadcast on anchor.fm, Athletic Airways with Anthony. Be sure to check that out on all platforms: YouTube, anchor.fm, iTunes, Spotify. Am I right?
Yeah.
Tornatore? Yeah.
Google all of everything.
All of the above.
Yes.
Excellent. Good. So now, before, or actually during all of this, during your time at St. John's, you needed to fulfill an internship. You needed to try and get into the field or get your feet wet. And you did so by applying to Major League Baseball Network, to MLB Network in Secaucus in New Jersey. And you are a big traveler. You know exactly how it is to get from Yonkers to Queens, almost every day. You're a commuter. You don't, you never dormed, you never stayed on campus or even outside of it. So talk about how you got that gig, and just talk about your time there at MLB Network.
So that was great. I actually went through Handshake. I got an email from the university one day, MLB Network is hiring. So I go, well, let me send in an application. It said Summer Content Associate. Mm-hmm. There was really no description. So I was like, oh, well, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. It's not the end of the world. I get an email that says, we'd like to do a phone interview with you. The phone interview went great. We want you to come in. So I went in and they're like, you know how to video edit? And honestly, I wasn't 100% on video editing. I wasn't the best video editor. I knew how to use iMovie a little bit, but not, MLB Network type.
Right.
Well, apparently that was good enough for them. They hired me. It was actually a freelance job. And I actually saw Mike Slavitt there every day because we were in the same building together. And that was a great experience. It was all the Little League World Series. We would watch the games and then post the highlights. They would go on Instagram, Twitter, on ESPN. They would play them there, MLB Network. And they trained us for a week. And then they put us right into the mix of it, and it was a great experience. That was so much fun. I can't even describe it.
Did you ever get to work in Studio 42?
No, I didn't get to work in there, but I've been in there though. We've been in there.
Okay,
it's great.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I know hearing from Mike and also from Kevin as well, who I believe had, I don't know if it was the same exact title as you or was a different title, but both of you worked within MLB Network. And I remember, I know Mike says it and still says it today. He's a media management associate. He started off in your shoes and worked his way up. Yeah. You're not allowed to have any phones in Studio 42. So there's no photos. There's nothing, none of that. And it looks so much bigger, obviously, on TV with the wide camera lens and everything like that. So, it's amazing that you could be playing wiffle ball in there with Harold Reynolds or Bob Costas or Matt Vasgersian or somebody along those lines, which I'm sure was an experience of a lifetime for you, where you would be, walking through the doors, especially of the network of your favorite sport.
Yeah, it was great. Just imagine walking into work and you have Mike Lowell or Eric Burns and Lauren Shahadi walk next to you, and you're trying to keep your cool, because I'm as you see, a huge sports fan. I go to meet and greets. I send mail to athletes, and I try and get cards signed. I collect autographs, and it was crazy how Mike Lowell would walk next to me. Oh, hi, how are you? And I'm like, hi, good morning. It was just a crazy experience.
Right. It's almost like being starstruck, and I'll give you the perfect example too. When I started in the business, and you get to meet a lot of these people, and I've gotten to become friends with the Chicago Cubs hitting coach, Anthony Iapoce, and to be friends with somebody where you don't have to call him by his full name and you just simply call him Anthony. These people are human just like you and I, so, you're calling Lauren Shahadi. You're just saying, hey, Lauren, how are you? Or Miss Shahadi, or whatever the case is, you see these people on television for all your life. And then you're like, wow, I'm working with them now. I know these people. I text them, I do whatever. And in the end, they're just human beings like you and I,
Yeah. It's crazy too. Like, just look at St. John's. I know John Minko, one of his color commentator, Vin Parisi, is very good friends of mine, and it's great just to be able to text somebody when you want to say hi. I'm very good friends with Ian Eagle. I've seen him at St. John's games. We talk through email. He's been on my show, so it is a great experience to just get to know these guys. They're just regular people.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing too. And especially when you have someone, someone with that magnitude like Ian Eagle to be on your show. I remember in the beginning, I remember, and I will tell you this because now we're both out of school. I remember when you said to me and Mike, we're going to have Ian Eagle on the show. And I was like, I don't know who this kid is. I have no idea who this Anthony Tornatore kid is. I have no idea who this is. He's playing with us. And then I remember you come in here, and then I remember you showed it to us. I couldn't believe it. And from that point on, I was like, oh, okay. So I know this kid. He's that Ian Eagle guy. Yeah. That's absolutely surreal. Yeah. Now in Secaucus, they moved NHL Network from Manhattan, from right above the NHL store on 6th Avenue and 48th Street. They moved that studio over there, and they moved it into Secaucus, right? Yeah. Or I guess they combined it with MLB Network. So they have employees from MLB Network work with NHL and vice versa. Mm-hmm. When you were at MLB Network, was that the case? Did you get to work on the NHL side ever?
No, I was strictly Little League World Series, and that was a lot. There's tons of games going on because it's junior baseball, senior baseball, junior softball, senior softball. And, you'd have a 10 o'clock game. You're not getting out of there till 2, 3 o'clock. And I wasn't able to work with the NHL network, but, just like with Lauren Shahadi and Mike Lowe, Ken Danico going into the studio, getting his makeup done. And I've seen the rink because it's right there next to the cafeteria. That was another surreal experience too. And it was strictly Little League World Series, but I was supposed to go back in April actually, but no baseball. They don't need any workers right now.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of these corporations, a lot of these networks, they're either furloughing their employees, or they're simply laying them off. It's wild, there's, and not only that too, everyone has to be, has to social distance. So really, they have to have like 2 or 3 people in the control room because, there's no live events. You can't even be in the studio. Everyone has to be home and doing exactly what we're doing here on camera, and really, you see on television, on news stations and everything, and you have people reporting the news from their basement, or their kitchen or wherever it is, live with Kelly and Ryan, both of them are reporting from their kitchen, or from their, from their bar, wherever it is. So a lot of crazy stuff. And I wish that you would have had that story where, you would have been able to work on the other side because you're also a Rangers fan too. So to see guys like EJ Radick and, who also covers, the NHL and covers the New York teams, pretty good rather, that would have been really cool. Now, when you were covering, and I'm throwing you a little curveball here, no pun intended, but when you were covering, the Little League World Series, how was that experience for you?
I worked with some amazing people with that. And I was in the same room as Kevin Connolly, who you had on the show, who was right next to me.
Yeah.
I would cut the highlight. I would send it to him. That was, you get paid to watch TV and watch baseball, and then you cut a highlight. And even though that was great, then you go on social media and you see it there. That's another thing. It's something you always dreamed about, like, oh, I want to be on the MLB network. And then boom, there it is. It's on Twitter. It's on ESPN. It's on Snap. It's on Instagram. It was a great experience. You met some really cool people, a lot of workers too, because they had tons of games a day. They really did. And, when you look at the room that we were in, there were TVs all over the place. Just the Yankee games on 8 different TVs. And you got the Met game on, and the Phillies game, and the Braves, and it was just amazing to just sit in a room with people that strictly love what you love. It was so much fun.
Right, and not only that too, also where you are in the same building is also MLB Advanced Media as well, mm-hmm. where actually it moved from Chelsea in Manhattan from the Lower East Side into Secaucus, and now everything is now in Secaucus except the obviously MLB executive offices, which are still in Manhattan. But we were talking about NHL Network before. I want to slide over to another favorite sport of yours and to a team that I can't stand, but hey, I'll still talk about it anyway because it is still a New York team, and I still obviously respect my friends for loving who they love. And you work for a fan-sided site called Blue Line Station.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, Blue Line Station is the fan-sided site for the New York Rangers. Now you're a Rangers fan. How did you first off, how did you become a Rangers fan? Let's start from there.
Hockey wasn't always my sport. I wasn't a huge hockey fan until me and my dad went to a hockey game about 10, 12 years ago. And, they retired Andy Bathgate.
Oh yeah.
And Adam Graves' number that night.
Wow, and that was your first hockey game.
Yep, and
what
I also got
my goodness.
And I also got their autographs on the hat. So it was a great experience. And that was my first hockey game I went to, and the hockey games are exciting. Unfortunately, I can't go to a lot of Rangers games because tickets are through the roof. So I go to a lot of Islanders games. My best friend's an Islanders fan. I was at the game when the Flyers were up 3-0 in the first period, and they came back and won.
Yep.
With 30 seconds left. And I love hockey. It's a great sport, and it doesn't get the respect that it deserves.
Have you ever been to a Stanley Cup playoff game?
No, no.
Oh, see that is a whole different level, and that's a whole, I guess, that's actually a whole different animal rather,
Yeah.
and being at even at the Garden too. I've been to the Garden for a playoff game, both for Knicks and Rangers, and it is absolutely surreal. It's not, and I will tell you this, it's not anywhere near the Big East tournament, which, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously the Big East tournament is amazing for us because, this is what we've grown up with. But once you get to see, and I know for the Islanders fans that could be watching right now, and they may shun me or potentially, have a bullseye on my head once I say this, but Rangers games at the Garden are a ton of fun. It's simple. It really is. And that's also why I love to see Islanders Rangers games at the Garden, because it's an amazing atmosphere regardless of what fan you are. And also you
Yeah.
have the concessions too. You have everything is just it's an amazing opportunity to socialize, and on top of it, just to have fun and to watch an amazing hockey game as well. So you were, and honestly, I think that might be the best story that I've ever heard in terms of how you became a fan, because to see a game like that, of that magnitude, where a player gets retired, his number gets retired, that's something that many people can't say they've either done so far or have ever done in their entire lifetime. And you did it when you were, a teenager, basically. So really, that is surreal, blessed for sure to be able to say that that you have that in your brain. How did you start with Blue Line Station?
Um, Again, through one of my partners, Kevin. He writes for Bull Durham, the Duke site,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
goes, "Why don't you do it? You could make some money off of it. It's fun. If
Mhm.
you love the team, you could do it." And I emailed them, and they put me in. And
Yep.
the guy that I worked for, very organized, gave everybody equal amounts to write, and
Yep.
it was great. It was fun. We would do game reviews and recaps, and that's how I got into it. And I started writing, and over time, my articles did pretty good for a Rangers page, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a good thing.
Right. And not only that too, but also the best part is that you also improve, and you improve every single time that you write, because you'll always find a kink or two in your first article. Then your second article, you'll be improving that. And then the third article, you see what you did wrong on the second, and so on
Yeah,
and so forth, which really is an amazing thing. And on top of it, exactly what you said, you're getting paid to do what you love.
yeah,
That's the biggest thing too. And even if you don't like writing, because I'll say this with full transparency, and again, for the people that are watching, I'm going to flat out tell you, I hate to write, but I'm an SID and I write. I do.
yeah,
Do I love what I do? I am blessed and I love what I do. But you got to love what you do. Exactly what
yeah,
Tornatore said. You walk in, you see Lauren Shahadi, you see Mike Lowell, you see these guys, and you just have to have that smile on your face. You got to wake up with that energy. And I know exactly what we said in the beginning of this show. You wear your heart on your sleeve. That's what my man Anthony does for sure. Um, Speaking of the NHL earlier, what was, so in addition to you writing, was there anything else that they had you do? Just the game recaps were the biggest thing?
yeah. That was it. Just
All right.
recaps. You picked what you wanted to write, but it was
Did you
reviews.
now?
Yeah. So he would give you a schedule and say you want to do. I would sign up for. I want to do the recap for the Lightning game, or I want to do the review for the Knights game, and you would sign up and you would have your article in. Probably the recap had to be 6 o'clock the morning of 6 a.m. and the review was pretty much maybe like 6 hours afterwards. But I would write the review during the game, put the final stats in, and I would send it right off to him.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's really unbelievable that, that you're able to do that, and how a site that has that much credibility allows these college students to get their names out there, and also to improve on their journalism, and on top of it, by giving back with with compensation, which is unbelievable. And also, now a personal question to you about the NHL: do you see the NHL returning at all this year?
Uh, that's a tough question because if the NHL returns, the NBA is going to return. Uh, I feel like it's going to get too late. New York
Right.
public events are shut down till June 30th as of
At
now.
the earliest, yeah.
At the earliest. And, we have 3 teams in the tri-state area, 4 teams, 3 teams in the state, 4, including the Devils, if we put that in the conversation. If New York State's close to the 30th, then, you can't have a season with finish out a season with just 26 teams in either sport.
Right.
I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. If they do come back, I think the standings where they are now stands. You just go into a playoffs, maybe 3-game series, and you got to do that. Would be the best case scenario right now.
And would you be writing for your Rangers this summer if they were to come back?
Yes, if they're playing, yes, I would be helping them write. Yes.
That's excellent. That's really good. And then this would be, if I'm not mistaken, this would be your first full year. Because when did you start with Fansided?
The beginning of the season. So
right.
I think I applied in October.
Yeah. So it would be, it would be your first full year. And on top of it, it would also be your first playoff series as well, which is humongous. That would be really, really cool and something for the resume as well. So we're now in the 7th inning stretch of our conversation here. And the problem that we see obviously in the world with the pandemic, we know March 12th was the dreaded day that, again, 11th and 12th we'll never forget. Now you're set to graduate this year, class of 2020, Anthony Tornatore, St. John's University, continuing the tradition in the Tornatore family, being second consecutive generation to graduate from Jamaica, Queens. You're not going to be able to walk this year. You're not going to be able to walk and get your bachelor's degree. Now, that is not a voluntary action. That is involuntary for every soul that is graduating in 2020. Mm-hmm. Now, you spoke about the bittersweet feeling at Madison Square Garden. I'm sure that this has a little bit of a less bittersweet feeling. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. It's I'm excited to graduate. I was excited to, I don't have to wake up and worry about my homework. It is tough though, after 16 years of school, to not be able to walk the stage. You work for that your entire life. It is bittersweet, a little more bitter, but it is what it is. There's nothing you could really do about it. And I believe St. John's, when they said they'll fix this for us, they'll get us to walk on the stage. Whenever that may be, I'll take that.
Yeah,
hopefully it's sooner, but it is tough. It is tough.
Yeah, well, because you've put your heart, sweat, and tears into getting great grades, getting that scholarship that you mentioned earlier. Also at Archbishop Stepinac as well. But you continue to put the work in, whether it be with what you do at Fansided, at MLB Network, for WSJU, whatever it may be, you're still putting the time in. And right now too, you're taking online classes because that's where everything was moved to, was all online classes. Now, are you used to them, or do you normally take in-person classes? And what would you rather? Are you happy that you're doing this, or would you rather be in-person learning?
I've never done an online class before. I did a hybrid class, if that counts, but you still met them once a week.
Yeah.
No, my 4 years as a commuter over a bridge, I never took an online class. It's shocking, but that's the truth. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm a fan of, going to campus, seeing my friends, the hellos, the byes, and I don't want to say I'm a better learner that way, but it's more interesting. And you actually get a little less work if you're in person, because the professors have really been giving you a lot of work on this on
Blackboard and everything.
Yeah, on Blackboard.
Right. Well, and also I remember when taking a few online classes too, And I remember in my senior year, that's all I took was online classes with the athletes and everything. And I remember, they would give a lot of work also because, you have the time. You have the time where, you're not going to class. And exactly what you said, you're commuting, you're doing everything, you're going back and forth, and you're not sitting here at the table with basically no purpose and just and just clicking the mouse and just like sitting there like, all right, I'm going to log on here. I'm going to do whatever, and just listen to the professor, listen, whatever. And you could be playing a game on here and not even listening, and the professor wouldn't even know. So
that was me these past 4 years.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So that's the biggest thing now. And you're so close to the finish line. You're in the top of the ninth, Tornatore. You're in the top of the ninth inning right now. And you're literally, with this pandemic going on, every soul at university, wherever it may be, D1, D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA, wherever it is, they're crawling to the bottom of the ninth, trying to get there and trying to close the game out and be, and be the closer. We're trying to do that. I never had to experience that. I hope I never have to experience it. And it stinks for you that you have to go through exactly what you're going through now. And this is the hardest part. And I've asked everyone this because back in 2008, after the recession and everything like that, people had hard times finding jobs and everything. And once the economy got better, everyone, still had problems finding jobs because in the industry that we're in, and not only that, but also now every single industry, either it's dying or it's booming. And in our industry, it's right in the middle, but there's so much competition. And you say to yourself, well, now there's a lot of companies and networks that have to furlough, have to lay people off. So what does the future hold for Anthony Tornatore? And not only that, what are your thoughts of just the sports world and the sports media industry moving forward?
I think I think a lot of people are going to be on guard more. I think athletes are going to be a little more reluctant to give a high five to a fan. And I think interviews are going to be a little more spaced out. Not everybody, coming around somebody's locker with 8 microphones there. It's not going to be like that. And that's just for the safety reasons of everybody, not just the players. Me personally, my status is, I don't want to say I'm guaranteed a job because nothing's guaranteed. But I'm in very good standing with the people at the MLB Network. And once everything does come back, hopefully that'll be a place that I could go back to. MLB, NHL, it's something. If that's not the case, well, we start over again. And it wouldn't be the first time this has happened, that somebody started over and wound up having a successful career. We've seen it plenty of times. Kurt Warner used to bag groceries and became a Hall of Famer.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, you said it. It's true. And someone actually in our industry, who I've been blessed to speak with, is Chicago Bulls play-by-play man Chuck Swirsky. And when I was listening to him, speak about his path to the Chicago Bulls, his life started at age 25. And when I say his life started at age 25, his first break was at age 25. And you listen to guys, there was actually, I will say this here, because it wasn't only it was for the general public, actually. Sportscasters Talent Agency of America had a sportscasting summit just on Monday. And for those that are watching and were potentially involved in that, they had Beth Mowins, Jim Nance, Chuck Swirsky, the aforementioned, Kevin Harlan, Lisa Byington made an appearance there. Pat Hughes, the Chicago Cubs play-by-play man. Kevin Kugler. Who else? Bob Costas. I'm sure I'm probably missing someone else. But those also Tracy Wolfson, CBS lead sideline reporter. And something that she said too was that she graduated without a reel. And to think that now with both me and you, Tornatore, with graduating without a reel, you'd say to yourself, well, that's it. Life is done. Our time in this industry is screwed, and it's you figure that's really it. But you know what? Every little thing, exactly how you said it. If it doesn't work out, we start over. You never give up. And it's possible where, with Chuck Swirsky being 25 years old and just getting his first, foot in the door, and years later, he's now the voice of the Chicago Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy Wolfson, who obviously had the connections, and clearly you have the connections too. We all have to make connections. And to go work for somebody out here actually on Long Island, and then to be able to be partnered with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, and to be on the sideline for the Super Bowl, for multiple Super Bowls, there's obviously hope and whatever, even coming out of this pandemic for sure. So obviously fingers crossed to you, my man, because that is, definitely something that you got to keep going on. You never know who you're going to meet along the way. Possibly Mike Lowell might, or Mike rather, might have somebody that he knows that could, lead you in the right direction from Boston. You never know.
Yeah.
Now, again, you're a diehard Yankees fan, and I can't stress that enough because of your entire background and everything that you have on your wall is everything Yankees, obviously. Now, how hard is it for you generally to be without baseball, let alone Yankees baseball, and for the foreseeable future too? We don't know how long this is going to last for.
Yeah, if everything keeps on the way it is, it'll be the first year I've never been to a baseball game. And I'm somebody that's had a game bi-weekly, whether that's in the Bronx or in Flushing. I've traveled down the East Coast to D.C. and to Baltimore and Fenway, and it would just be it's weird. It doesn't feel real. But I know when the stadiums open back up, I'll be the first one at those games. And I even had tickets. I was so excited. The first game, the Houston Astros, will be in the Bronx in the middle of September. I bought those tickets as soon as they went on sale, ready to, start banging on garbage cans and being loud.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy how that's probably not going to happen right now. And it's hard to fathom that. You don't want to believe it.
Yeah. It's 100% hard to, to digest that and to think that, the whole year is gone, obviously. And, where you hear the possibilities of, there could be a December 1st pitch, or a World Series or a World Series final pitch on Christmas Day, that could coincide with football. It doesn't sound, it sounds wrong. And, and then obviously, then, okay, well, then you have to realize then, well, now how is the 2021 season going to be, affected?
Yeah.
And this goes for every sport, with hockey, it could be restarted in July. Baseball, it could be restarted in July with no fans or whatever. And it's just, do you, would you rather see, them start with, whenever it comes up to, or whenever they start again or restart rather, do you start with this basically the same schedule that you have,
that might be tough. I think that's tough because you who knows if you might have played the Orioles 12 times already and you missed those games, or you play them 18 times, you just can't play them 6. I think the whole schedule needs to be reconfigured.
Which is absolutely crazy. And I'm sure obviously Major League Baseball has a computer program set to go. And I'm sure they've already come up with thousands of projections or different scenarios that will be put into play now, because this is, usually they do this most likely for a test. And now the drill, this is no drill. This is real life now. It's a nightmare that we have yet to wake up from. Now I'm going to ask you, I'm going to throw a couple of questions at you in the final few minutes that we have here together.
All right.
And I want to know, when you were with WSJU and you were able to travel to the Dunkin' Donuts Center, to Georgetown, to the Capital One Arena, Prudential Center. Where else am I thinking of? I don't know if you guys ever went to Butler. I don't think you guys went to Xavier.
No.
So, and you guys, I know, definitely did not go to Creighton. So, or Marquette. So, obviously half the teams you went to. What was your favorite building that you were able to experience as a St. John's broadcaster?
Oh, the Finneran Pavilion, without a doubt, in Villanova. That place is it goes to show you what a couple of national championships will do. You walk in there and it looks like you're at an NBA game. The final 4 floors on the bottom. The media room is set up like a palace, and that place was just phenomenal. That I tell everybody, if you got to go anywhere, just go there for a game. Even if you're not broadcasting, just get there for a game.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I spoke with when we had Kevin Connolly on the show. I had asked him the same question. I'm going to ask Brendan this question too, and I want to see his answer and see if there's 3 different answers. So you have Finneran Pavilion, and Kevin Connolly had Dunkin' Donuts Center. So
the Dunkin' Donuts Center, we had that was an interesting game.
And I know exactly what you went through because I know myself and Mike Slavitt and Rodney Harris all went through the same exact thing.
Yeah.
With the pep band behind you and the fans behind you and the chuckles from everybody and the heckling and everything like that. So and you also had the season ticket holders in front of you as well. So
we had the cheerleaders in front of us and the student section behind us, and that was let's just say we had to apologize on the air a lot.
Right. Yeah, it was an experience of a lifetime to say the least, for sure. Right now, what exactly are you watching besides sports? Is there anything maybe Netflix, Hulu, any movies that you want to watch, that you've watched, that you can potentially say on air, or give some tips to those looking to watch something else?
So I haven't even been watching on either. I've been watching Disney Plus.
Wow, have you now?
I'm a Marvel fan.
Okay.
So I said to myself, I'm going to be stuck in the house. I might as well watch every movie in chronological order.
Yeah.
So I've watched 20 movies so far. I have 3 left.
Wow.
Yeah.
20 movies. Wow.
Yeah. I watched Ant-Man last night. So, we're going down the list. And the movies are like 2.5 hours long. They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's really good. And on top of it, you're still juggling your schoolwork. And you were saying earlier that the professors are still piling on the work, and yet you're still having time for 20 plus movies on Disney Plus. Amazing.
Yeah, that's been taking a lot of my time up, and I've been on TikTok a lot. That's a new favorite. That's fun. But
wow.
You just gotta burn up some time, because you wake up and within 20 minutes you already did everything you needed to do for the day.
Right. Yeah. And not only that too, you see a lot of people that are coming up with different things, it's either home projects, it's catching up on movies, or even rewatching movies. And heck, that is absolutely unbelievable. You coming up with 20 plus movies in the last month, rather. Really, absolutely unbelievable. Out of those 20 movies thus far, what's your favorite Disney Plus / Marvel movie that you've seen in that 20?
I got to say Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Big Doctor Strange fan.
And what are the next 3 that you have, just so we can get a little glimpse of what Anthony Tornatore has watched?
So I've seen them already, but I got to rewatch them, because when you watch it, and I put the captions on, some people think I'm crazy.
Do you now?
But when you watch it and you're alone and you put your phone down, you find out so much more information than if you were at a movie theater. And I have to watch Infinity Wars, Endgames, and Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man that just came out. And I've seen those 3 already, but I'm gonna find out more stuff when I watch them again, quietly, and it'll be peaceful. And that's why I did this.
So I take it that you're not really a big movie theater guy. You're a big you're a bigger, stay at home guy and really watch the classics.
Yeah, I like going to the movies. I saw Endgame when it first came out, and it was packed. Like,
yeah,
it was an 11 o'clock movie. It's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah,
and people. I wasn't a huge Marvel fan back then, and people were going absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
in that movie theater. And now I'm just saying to myself, they got about 7 more movies coming out in the next 2.5 years, and all I know is I'm going to be at those.
And you're gonna be at them on open. And are you going to be at them on opening night or no?
I don't know.
Too much.
I've seen one movie on opening night. I saw Creed 2 on opening night.
Okay.
And I was in the first row.
Ooh.
And with my dad, and my neck was like, it was horrible. But we were able to move back a little bit after, but I don't know what I'm going to do. Marvel has a huge fan base that
Right.
I think they'll be sold out, so I might not even be able to go.
And you might also be able to, save a little bit of money, be on your couch, be able to pause
yes.
Be able to pause it, be able to go to the bathroom at your own time and, make your own popcorn, etc. Really, really good stuff. Now, as a now I can say this, which really I know it's going to hurt you, because when I was told this, it hurt me as well. Former WSJU sports director. Next year, UConn comes into the Big East 2020 to the 2021 season. UConn's going to come back in for the 11th team, or is going to return to the Big East. What do you expect from St. John's? What do you expect just generally within the Big East?
I think it's going to cause a lot of shockwaves, mostly on the women's side, because you have quite possibly the greatest women's head coach of all time.
Right.
On the men's side, I'm not seeing that they're going to be, a Villanova tier or a Creighton tier team. But I think they're going to. We all know Big East games. It doesn't matter if DePaul's in last place and Villanova's in first place. DePaul could win that game by 30. You don't know what could happen, and it's going to cause a lot of shockwaves, for a good shockwave. So it's going to be fun. The games are going to be electric, and I'm so happy for the women, though, because our women's basketball team has always been a strong team, and Coach Joe Tartamella is a fantastic guy, and they don't get the support they deserve. And maybe with UConn coming in there, they'll start getting a couple more eyes towards the Big East.
Yeah, which is absolutely wild, where it's going to be Gino Auriemma inside Carnesecca Arena for the first time in years. That's absolutely stunning, too, where, you see following numerous, NCAA titles, and now that coach is going to be coming into Carnesecca playing a St. John's women's team who is on its way up. And I'm going to throw you this last curveball before we head into the credits, Anthony. And what I want to know is that for someone that was covering the women's team, Tiana England now graduated. Now she's a graduate transfer down in Florida State. Talk about the loss of what she would bring to the table in Queens. And what does that loss do? Who can make that up? Especially with you covering the team. You know that team pretty well.
Yeah, Tiana England, a fantastic player. She could turn it on and off, drive at will. If you need a bucket from her, she'll give it to you. She might not be the greatest shooter of all time, but she could drive that basket, get to the free throw line. She was a fantastic player. They're going to miss her. But freshman last year, sophomore this year, Unique Drake, is probably going to take over point guard duties, and she is a fantastic basketball player. She's just like Tiana. She's quick. She can shoot the ball too. She's got a great 3-point shot. I don't want to say that they're not going to miss her, but they're finding somebody almost the same caliber of talent as Tiana England, and just all the pieces around them. They're going to be a really good team next year.
It's going to be a lot of fun next year, and I know for a fact you would love to be on press row next year, for the radio station one more time. I know exactly how it felt. It was brutal because really they would have, and I'm going to say, I think you could, tell me if I'm wrong or not. They would have been an at-large, most likely.
Yeah, I think I got to agree with you on that one.
They would have been that, and it's just, it's tough because, if they weren't an at-large, they would have been either, they would have been in the WNIT for sure. And I know those games are a lot of fun to cover, and you guys would have had a ton of fun to do that.
Yeah.
Wasn't meant to be, and I'm sure I will see Anthony Tornatore calling a game one of these days, sooner than later. I really hope, because I want to see Tornatore go out on top in proper fashion and not involuntary and disaster fashion. That's for sure. My man, Anthony Tornatore, I can't thank you enough for joining me here on the Primetime Rundown Zoom interview series on my brand new project here. It's really been a lot of fun to speak with you tonight. I'm really happy to hear that you and your entire family are doing okay up in Yonkers. And I know I'll be talking to you for sure, as we always do. But just to close here, tomorrow night, the Primetime Rundown NFL Draft Special, episode number 23, comes to you live starting at 8:00 p.m. Right here on the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Networks. You can also be on YouTube Live, as well as comments. We'll be taking all comments and answering all questions, as well as the Primetime Rundown Zoom interview series, episode number 6. I know I got those two mixed up earlier. Episode number 6 will feature USL League Two's FA Euro Executive Director Marco Balsamo. That interview starts on Friday, April 24th at 6:30 p.m. right here on the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Networks. Anthony, cannot thank you enough for being here with me and for all of us here at the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Networks. I'm Joey Jarzynka. We'll see you next time.